What is up, Packers fans? Welcome back to the Daily Draft. I'm your host, Ross Uglem, and I'm the publisher of Pack Report. And today we are brought to you by Brewski Light Lager from Badger State Brewing, the greatest can of all of Wisconsin. And you can check out our friends at Badger State as they are just minutes away from beautiful Lambeau Field right there in Green Bay. And today we are breaking down one of the most interesting prospects in this class. And I know I might maybe say that a lot, but this guy really is fascinating. And that is Nick Nash, wide receiver Nick Nash from San Jose State. We'll get into a lot of his career. He's a sixth-year guy at two different positions. And we're going to get into everything that there is to about Nick and why he might fit as a Green Bay Packer in the next, 8 to 10 minutes here. First pro, unbelievably productive. And yes, I fully admit this is box score scouting, but I think we got to talk to the box score because it's unbelievable. He won or he got close to winning the collegiate triple crown in 2024. We're talking 104 catches. We're talking 1,400 yards. We're talking 16 touchdowns. This guy was unbelievably productive against the Mountain West Conference. And you just, like I said, they're video game numbers as far as the box score is concerned. It was a hugely successful season for him in the box score. Played quarterback, which is cool, but we'll also talk about why it's somewhat of a negative, or his whole career, and just kind of why it's goofy. Because normally you'd say, well, Mountain West isn't that bad of a conference, right? You got Ashton Genty's going to be a first-round pick. Green Bay's quarterback that they gave $55 million a year. He's a Mountain West guy. There's plenty of Mountain West guys that should be top 30, top 60 picks, whatever. Wow. We'll talk about maybe why that might not be the case for Nick Nash. Unbelievable deep threat. Unbelievable. You might not even test to that degree, but he is so good on film. He might be one of those 4.5 40 deep threat guys. And that's where you would have some concern, right? Because I've mentioned this when talking about other wide receivers, think maybe even Jalen Royals, where those guys that run a 4.50 or a 4.49 and are separating from guys in college, sometimes it works because they're just that good with their deception. They're just that good, with football speed. They're just that good, and that's great. But there are sometimes when those guys that run in the high 4.4s or 4.5 aren't getting by people anymore. And then you lose a bunch of what made them great in college, and it obviously affects their long-term success at the NFL level. So we'll see what happens there. Great frame. He's 6'3". He's got long arms. He's got excellent hands, catches the ball away from his body. Does that especially well for a guy who, played quarterback for his first 3 years of college. I think he's got some of the more technical aspects, of playing wide receiver down pat. He's really good. Obviously a quick learner. You can tell that because of how skilled he is as a player who, frankly, that wasn't his game. It's not the position that he played. So I like that he catches the ball away from his hands. I like that he can high point the football. I like that he, is very technically sound and naturally gifted as a receiver, even though that's not what he came into college to do. He sees and he understands leverage against zone coverage the way that a quarterback would. I think he's an incredibly smart football player. And it's not just because he played two different positions in college. I just, like I said, I think he understands zones. I think he understands how to make himself available. I just think he's a really smart kid and a good football player. He's also good with the ball in his hand. I won't call him, because he wasn't, I won't say that he was a wildcat QB early in his career, but he was definitely a running QB, right? So he has kind of some of that like Jalen Hurts to him when he's running the football. He kind of runs the football like a really good scrambling quarterback, if that makes sense. And he is, to me, just super impressive with the football in his hands after that. Packers fans, this is the Daily Draft brought to you by Packer Report. The countdown to the 2025 NFL Draft is on. There's no better place to celebrate this April than Badger State Brewing. Just a short Lambeau leap away from the draft action. Also, buy the Green Bay Draft Guide. It's an unbelievable way to support us, myself, Jacob Morley, Jacob Westendorf, all the guys that helped the draft. I think we really did a good job of narrowing the scope, showing Packers fans which prospects to really key in on. But, guys, we're going to have a ton of player profiles for every prospect. A, for when we get them wrong, or B, for, when we get like the Packers fits guys wrong, it'd be for, but the Lions class, how about the Bears class? How about the Vikings class? Oh my gosh, they just took this guy in the third round. Who's this? Well, we're going to have player profiles for that. We're also going to have promo code DAILY for $1 off. So you can use that. Link should be below here to buy or in the podcast description. If you're on the audio side, please, guys, buy the guide. Okay. Hey, Cons. He's old as dirt. This man is old. Played 6 years at San Jose State, 3 years as a QB, and another 3 as a wide receiver. And I will say his receiving was massively bigger as a senior. Like his 5th year to his 6th year was a huge jump. And most guys, folks, are in the NFL by this time. Okay, he's 25 years old. Most guys are talking about that rookie season. So he went from probably a 24-year-old kid and not being that successful in the Mountain West to being crazy productive as a 25-year-old. I think that can be viewed a number of ways. Certainly, if you're a pessimist, it can be viewed as there's no more runway here. There's no upside. He is what he is. Like that, or this is a man against boys, and he's going to go right back to playing against men. These are the negative ways that you can look at this. I think sometimes he can play high, especially in and out of breaks. I think he's very much a vertical football player, and physicality is not his thing. Is he a slot? Can he beat man-to-man coverage consistently? All those things, right? Like, I wonder if he's a big slot, if he's a tall slot, if he's just kind of one of those find a hole in the zone guys, right? He's not 5'11". He's not super shifty. He's not going to be Welker. He's not going to be Edelman, right? We're talking about like not Welker, but Edelman, some of those former QBs that do a really good job as slot receivers, or even like a Welker, like a Renfro, whatever. He's not that size. He's more Cooper Kupp size, but doesn't do some of the things I think as a wide receiver that Kupp did. Packers fit. These are the questions. Can he consistently beat man coverage? And can he consistently get deep against the higher level of competition? The Packers don't need another wide receiver who can't beat man, and they don't need another wide receiver who can't get deep. They don't need a tall slot. They have Luke Musgrave to be a tall slot. When Christian Watson comes back, they'll have Christian Watson to be a tall slot. Jaden Reed plays fine inside. Bo Melton plays fine inside. They don't need another, like Alan Lazard type. And I think Nick Nash has a completely different future. But if we're just talking about a 6'3" slot receiver, I don't think Green Bay needs that. If he can play outside, if he can win vertically, and if he can beat man-to-man coverage, the rest of his game, Packer. The one thing I will say, 6'3", 195, if that weight actually comes in as like 188 in the combine, that's going to be not great. 195 is sort of the Mendoza line. They actually prefer like 199 to 200. They like bigger, thicker wide receivers who can help in the pass blocking game and who can be physical with the ball in their hands. I think he is physical with the ball in their hands from just watching the actual football games that he's played in. And so at 195, I'm cool with that. Comes back to the combine, he's 188. And we got questions as far as Packers fit, not necessarily what I think. I'm talking strictly, of course, about Packers fit. He'll be one to watch in Indy for sure. Just because, again, I want that deep threat aspect of his game verified by a 40 time that's under 4.50. I don't know how many elite deep threats in the NFL are running that slow, like guys that can actually get vertical. I don't know how often that's happening. I don't. And it's really the questions that kind of have him ranked where he is for me. Really the questions that have him ranked for me, because if he can just be the guy he is on tape, he's a second round guy for me. And he does not have a second round grade because I have these other concerns. But yeah, he's really good. I just wonder where the ceiling's at. I wonder what he can be at the next level. I think no matter what, you're going to get a guy who's going to make the football team. West Coast guy, again, we just talked about this when we did the Monheim episode, potentially a Sam Seal guy, went to the exact same college as James Jones. They have literally gone to San Jose State for a wide receiver before, and obviously ultimately that guy won the Super Bowl. Overall, I've got a really, really high round 4 on Nick Nash. I'm certainly willing to put him in my top 100 if I get some of these things, kind of figured out at the combine. Like if he runs in the low 4.4s, I'm going to tell you right now, he's going to be in my 80s, 90s as far as a ranking. He's going to get that 3rd round grade. But right now I have more questions than answers with Nick Nash. Guys, thank you so much for watching or listening. If you're on the podcast side, buy the guide, drink this, drink brewski, do everything you're supposed to do right here on the Pack a Day Podcast YouTube channel. Have a great rest of your week, folks, and go Pack Go.